Now with Nick Stern, Law Professor Nick Stern, another member like Paul Polman, you listened to him yesterday, and others, we integrated the global commissions on the economy and climate. And basically, what we are doing, could you put the report on the screen? Yes, you are watching that. Well, basically, what we are trying to do, and actually I say we are doing, is to demonstrate that it is possible to tackle climate change and at the same time to promote economic growth. So for us, clearly, that is a false dilemma that we need to choose between one or another. We can do both, and we must do both, but the next 15 years will be crucial. So the main conclusion of the report we presented to the United Nations is, yes, it is possible to have better growth and better climate. It is possible to have economic growth and poverty alleviation and at the same time to be responsible with the environment. But we need to act in the next 15 years, which is the last window of opportunity that we have to do that. Basically, the report emphasizes the change to three big systems, and I will go quickly over them. One is the energy system. So clearly we need to switch from a high carbon intensive economic growth to decarbonize economic growth, and that is possible. I will talk a little bit about that. We need to change the system regarding land use in the sense that we need to produce, for instance, more food for more people with higher quality in the same or even less surface for agricultural purposes. And the third system we need to change is cities. We cannot afford this sprawling model of cities we have today, and we need to move toward more smart cities, as India's program says, which is connected, compact, and coordinated cities of the future. But the good news is we say that it is possible to have economic growth because we detect several drivers of economic growth that can even foster the performance of the economy. Some of those drivers are resource efficiency. We talk a lot about labor efficiency, talk a lot about capital efficiency or productivity. It's time to talk about natural resources efficiency. Just think about the water in India. The same case of Mexico. Whenever you can give with no cost water, you cannot get improvement in terms of competitiveness, for instance, for agricultural purposes. We need to change that, and we can get economic growth for natural resources efficiency. Second driver, infrastructure investment. And basically the idea is this. We estimate in the Commission that in the next 15 years, we need to invest one way or another, by any means, $90 trillion in infrastructure, either in energy, land uses, or cities. $90 trillion. Well, if we do that in this current inertial model of carbon intensive, we will invest that. But if we switch towards low carbon path, we will invest roughly the same amount of money, $90 trillion. Actually, in some estimations, we can save money at net present value. So the idea is, if we are going to invest such amount of money, do that in the right way, and that is possible. And finally, the last driver is innovation. If we can foster innovation, innovation is the most important engine for economic growth since the man discovered the fire. So our report concludes that it is possible to have not only the same growth, but even better economic growth, being responsible with the environment. Now, quickly, the case applied to India. Good news is we are going to present very soon the report, a special case for India. It was not possible to present in this summit, but very soon we will present this. Some of the conclusions, it's quite interesting, but for instance, talking about energy, the case of India, you can see that India is importing energy. It's getting into a huge deficit. The trade balance for fuels is more than 6% of GDP. That is not affordable, and that is not rational in the sense that India is running a very high risk in terms of security, importing more than 6% of fuels, and fossil fuels in particular, coal, to supply energy. It's more than twice the trade balance deficits of the country. The point is, we are estimating that most of that is going to coal. But the good news is today, as you know very well, the price of renewable energy is going down dramatically. 80% lower the cost in solar and similar figures for wind energy. So those are good news that allow India and other countries to switch toward the new path economy. And the point in this is we can assure, and that will appear in the report, that by 2020, in the case of India, solar and wind power will be between 30 and 50% cheaper, 30% cheaper than imported coal by 2020. So it is rational for environment and it is rational for India's economy to move towards renewable energy. Now it's time to take such kind of decisions. Cities. India has 15 out of the 30 cities most polluted in the world. It's painful to say that, but it's true. And it is time to change because these cities are implying an incredible damage to the health. And that situation is increasing the health cost for Indian government. We need to reduce or cancel that externality, and that is another reason to move toward renewable energy here and reduce the high pollution here in Delhi and other cities. Delhi, Patna, Grelor, Raipur, the 4 most polluted cities in the world in terms of the PM air pollution index in the world. That implies, for instance, that India, you can see, is out of the pot, is not according even with its level of income per capita. The level of pollution of Indian cities is above the international random. I don't go into deep because I'm running out of time. But the point is this: if we can estimate, and that is possible, the economic value of the mortality or the people, the estimated people who died in a premature way, the economic value for India is more than 6% of its GDP a year. Yes, it's lower than the case of China because more people live in China in cities, but in the case of India, it's really high. Or in other words, all the economic growth that this country is performing, it is not enough to offset the economic value of the people who is dying in a premature way due to air pollution, only air pollution in outdoors. So that is another economic reason to address the issue. Is worthy. The price of carbon should be more than double than the current price of carbon because it is not including those kinds of externalities. And finally, land use, I need to run on this. This is the estimation of the income and the returns in agricultural GDP. In the bottom, if we invest in research and development and infrastructure like roads or in education, we will increase the productivity of agricultural sector. However, we, the governments, invest much more in subsidies to fertilizers, to power subsidies, to credit subsidies that are not producing the necessary returns to improve the performance of the agricultural sector. So in brief, my friends, and that is the idea of the report, yes, it is possible to have economic growth. Yes, it is possible to reduce poverty, and it is possible to create jobs, and at the same time, it is possible to tackle climate change and reduce the climate risk. But that requires very brave and courageous decisions that we need to take in the next 15 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much.